Welcome to The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napastka guide you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to The Ride.
Welcome to The Ride, everybody. Episode 55, in fact, as we do it every Tuesday night from 10:30 till 11:30 Eastern time, Mountain Standard Time. We are back again, and Chev looking more festive every week. See the Christmas tree in the back, and what's that you're wearing?
That's the Grinch, baby.
Oh.
I went yesterday with my kids to the mall, did our annual Christmas photo, and this year I got them all Grinch pajamas. I had this big Grinch parka. I was going to wear it tonight, but it's too damn hot, so I wore my Grinch t-shirt. We had a great time. We went for Santa. We went in and out. We had some wings after. Watched Monday Night Football. It was a great night. Sheldon, you mentioned our 55th episode.
55.
Who we got? Who we got? Who are the all-time great 55s?
I'm going to stick close to home for my first pick, and it's going to be none other than the Stampeder great Wayne Harris. Guy was an absolute stud. I played for, 12, 17 years, went on to coach. 12 years, I think he played. I think he was offensive lineman of the year every single year that he ever played. Just a legend in Calgary. Who do you got, Chev?
Yeah, and you got Junior Seau there. There's Terrell Suggs, Dikembe Mutombo. Lots of great 55s. I think Junior Seau.
Mutombo. Yeah, I forgot about Mutombo.
I think Junior Seau though is one of my favorite 55s. Junior Seau kind of redefined that position. I mean, he played on some Chargers teams that were, not one of the best teams in the NFL in the days, but he was always a force. And then
he brought it. Yeah,
he brought it, and then he played with the Patriots at the end. Unfortunately, he did. He took his own life at the end there, and unfortunately, that brought on a lot of attention on CT. But great player when he played. Trey mentioned, and I think I said Terrell Suggs probably got a lot less credit than he deserved because of 52 that was there in Baltimore for all those years. But we're the Chevy and Nasty. We're The Ride. We're come to you each week live at 10:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, as Sheldon said. Brought to you by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business. And you can follow us. Please like and subscribe. Share our podcast with your friends. We're on all socials. We're on Audible Podcasts with Spotify and Apple Podcasts, probably even Google. I don't know. I didn't check. And then, we got the TikTok and all that stuff. So it's a follow and like us. We put lots of clips out there. We work hard. We're a 4-man team, and we work hard to put some of this content out. And tonight, Nasty, I think we got a good show.
What do we got here? Well, of course, as always, we're going to start off with our 300-pound poetry, but very special day for Canadian swimmer Summer McIntosh as well. And then Chev, I'm not sure if you're a Christmas party guy or not. I tend to avoid them like the plague, although you can't help but get out of them. But we're going to talk a little bit about Christmas party etiquette.
Yeah. And then we tried something different this year. We love doing the live show. We love our dynamic. We have so much fun, but then we also want to interview people. And we're like, how do we combine the two without having a 2-hour show like we've had in the past? And we tried something different. So this week, Monday, we had a great interview with an old friend that both of us, I haven't spoken to him in 20 years, defensive line coach, Demetrius Maxey from the Toronto Argonauts, the Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts. We interviewed, we have an hour interview. We cut up a clip to give you a little preview, and we're going to release that one in the future. Not sure when. We'll put it on our socials. That's why you got to follow us. We're going to put some clips out, and we'll put that interview out. And it was a great interview. It was a great interview. Sheldon's going to talk about Maxey stealing his sacks. We're gonna do our blitz. We got lots of really neat topics there in the blitz. And then what else we got?
Well, we're going to wrap it up with a little bit of studs and duds. And if we have time, there's a reappearance of a Batmobile this week. And I think it's going to bring back that conversation. If you could have any fictional vehicle from your childhood, which one it would be? I know for sure which mine would be, but we'll get that to a little bit later. But right now, like we always do, Chev, you ready to kick it off with a little 300-pound poetry?
Yes, sir.
Trey, cue it up.
And now, 300-pound poetry with Chevy and Nasty.
If it's rhyming you crave, we are your 300-pound dudes. We didn't get this big by being picky with our foods.
Now, she's the apple of our eye. Summer McIntosh will continue to go far. She won Canada's Athlete of the Year. She's our very own 18-year-old star.
18, eh? 18. Buffalo's Josh Allen had 60 Ds. 3 of them he tossed. He ran it in for 3 more, but in the end, against the Rams, his Bills still lost.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Chiefs' voodoo magic had them win their division once more, when on the final play of the game, the kicker doinked, but it went off the bar in to score.
Sure did. And leave it to the Cowboys to block a punt and still lose the ball. We're looking so bad this year, someone will have to take the fall.
We're ready to roll. Our lights switched on and bright. It's a ride with Chevy and Nasty. Take a seat and hold on tight. Yeah.
Hold on tight, because we don't always know where we go, but we're going somewhere. I think we're going to start with Summer McIntosh.
Very cool story.
Very cool story. 18-year-old. She was 17 years old at the Olympics this year. She won 3 gold medals in swimming and a 4th medal, I believe was a silver. So 4 gold medals. It's a 17-year-old. And she took the world by storm. Today, she was named Canada's Athlete of the Year. Not Female Athlete of the Year. Canada's Athlete of the Year. Today, she just broke a record. I believe she broke another record. Let's play that video of her breaking the record today in Budapest. She broke a record, and on the heels of this, they're like, you know what? This is our Athlete of the Year. Let's check this out.
What she hopes to be her first ever short course meters world record here in the 400 freestyle.
And Mary Sophie Harvey is trying to get in the medal hunt. She is sitting there in 4th place. Less than 25 meters to go now. Summer McIntosh trying to chase down the world record of Li Bingji of 3:51.50. Watch the clock. Here she comes. Here's the touch. She's done it. 3:52.5. Can Canada get 2 medals? Yes, they can. Mary Sophie Harvey comes through for bronze, her first individual medal at a major event behind Summer McIntosh's world record performance.
Summer McIntosh, your new world record holder in the 400 free short course. And those are the 2.
I mean, that's crazy. This is Canada, Chev. And I remember my whole life watching the Olympics as a kid. And I think we had a guy named Alex Bowman that was like really pretty good in the 80s. And it was exciting to watch him compete and maybe get like silvers and things. But that was like the long shot. Like Canada would never had a strong swimming program. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, this girl's taking over the world. I mean, she blew out our old record by 3 seconds, the world record by just under a second. I mean, there's been a lot of people swimming that race to set that record. That's pretty impressive what she did today.
Yeah, very impressive what she did today, and so deserving. I believe there are many other deserving athletes. Like I was looking at an article today, and you name guys like Connor McDavid, Conn Smythe Trophy winner in the Stanley Cup Finals on a losing team. Brady Oliveira for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Not only was the outstanding Canadian in the CFL, he was also the MVP of the CFL. Nathan McKinnon, Hart Trophy winner. NBA. I can't remember the name of the player that he could have been the MVP. There were so many deserving candidates, but I think the fact that this girl is 18 years old, the Olympics come by every 4 years. Thank you, Trey. Shai Gilgeous Alexander is the NBA player. The Olympics come by 4 years. It's a very small window to perform at your highest, and anything can throw you off. If she had the flu, she wouldn't get those records. And here she is, an 18-year-old kid going up. As you say, she's got the apple of our eye, Summer McIntosh. She's a second-generation swimmer. Her mom was a former Olympian, and so deserving of this award. I mean, I got an 18-year-old in the house, man. And I'll tell you, if there was a gold medal for Fortnite and Call of Duty, maybe we got a future champion in the house. But other than that, I'm not saying my son is not ambitious, but he's in university, he's playing hockey. But to know what a typical 18-year-old is, and to see what this 18-year-old doing, that to me is absolutely fantastic.
It makes you want to go home and slap your kids a little bit, though, right? Like the amount of ambition and training that this girl had to have shown to get where she's at. During COVID, they shut down Canadian pools. Her and her mom found a coach down in Florida, the free state of Florida, and they went and spent COVID there just training, spending it in the pool, taking her courses, and man, it paid off. But it's not just a talent that you have to have. You have to have the good coaches, but you have to have that relentless drive. Now, I think when we talk about like the Canadians in the NBA, and which is pretty special, like the NHL, we're kind of used to that, right? Every generation we have, like just a top tier Canadian forward, defenseman, goalie, you name it, right? From Patrick Waugh to all the legends of the past to who we've got playing today. Nothing new. It's almost expected.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this thing is for us to take over a sport that we've never had before. I mean, you hear Donald Trump. They're coming into Canada because they want to dominate the Winter Olympics too. But now we're starting to dominate the Summer Olympics, right? So Summer McIntosh, good job. That's pretty amazing story.
Yeah, and she did a great job. You guys all did a great job of showing up tonight. Thanks for everyone that's listening tonight live at Chevy and Nasty. I see we got a couple of new listeners. We got Darcy's there. We got Jamin, Daryl. We got in the house to the forest. They're here from the Brothers Path page. We put a little ad out on Brothers Path. So Kevin Smith's group. We love hearing from them because Kevin's been a big supporter of ours, and it's great. But if we're gonna switch from sports, I'm wearing my Festive Grinch shirt. We talked about it this weekend. I had a Christmas party that I attended. I believe you did, and I figured, you know what? It's the time of year. It's a time of year that people are starting to attend parties. People are starting to get a little bit more festive. The weekends, you're looking forward to the weekends because there's some stuff going on. Sheldon, Christmas parties. Are you in or are you out?
It depends. I think the party you were at this weekend was like with like friends, right? Like, just casual get together, that kind of thing. I love, as long as it's not too busy, I'll go. But what I dread is office Christmas parties.
Why is that?
Well, I think it's because it's like you're walking through a minefield. I mean, there's just so many things that can go wrong and work against you, especially like, in my family, right? My wife, Amanda, very social. She goes to those parties. She just wants to talk to everybody.
Well, that's great.
Well, it is great. But, in every office, you've got, there's some people that are, kind of straight and level, and some people that bring the drama. And the people that bring the drama often love the attention, and it just kind of sucks them in all the time. I'm not saying this year was fine, but we had an event, a few years ago, where, it kind of traumatized me, right? Where you end up with a group that you didn't intend to get included in, and then everybody's drinking way too much, and you don't have a definite plan to get out of it. Yeah. And the subjects that are coming up are things that can be used against them. And if you agree with them, it can be used against you. And even though the boss isn't there, there's somebody in the room that's hearing something. And I don't know, just for me, organized Christmas, office Christmas parties are just a ticking time bomb to go to.
Yeah, I haven't been to too many of those. Like we got one with the fire department. I usually have my kids at night when they schedule a party.
Do you go to fire department once, or
I might sneak in to kind of clean up the last bit of wings that are on a plate. Like I don't go at the beginning when there might be a lot of people. When I go to a room of people I don't know, I'm actually very social. You know me. I talk to everyone, but I'm actually that social introvert. If I'm in a room where everyone knows me and I don't know everyone, I'm super uncomfortable, which happens a lot when you've played football in a city for 16 years and you teach and you coach and everyone seems to know you, and I forget people's names, and that makes me super uncomfortable to start with. The party I went to this weekend was in Red Deer, so I didn't know anyone there besides my girlfriend and a couple of her friends. It was one of her friends' parties, and I was a little bit, again, because I'm going into a room that I don't know what people think of me, it was a little bit awkward, but I had a blast. Now for me, whenever I go to a party, this is the thing, I'm always one of the biggest guys there. And for some reason, these parties are always fun. Like I had a blast, but they always turn into me being the party trick. Like last time I was at a party, I was doing the dirty dancing, the time of your life, holding people over their heads. I became like the ride at the fair. Like everyone wanted a turn, and it wasn't just women. It was dudes like yours. Hey, I want to try. I'm like, okay, take a run. I got a dude's balls in my face that party last time. This year, I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to do the dirty dancing thing, but the guy had a bench press. And my girlfriend decided to say, hey, show everyone how strong you are. So next thing you know, everyone's in the guy's gym. I'm doing 225. Everyone's counting it off. They're all like, yeah, you know, and everyone drank a little bit. And that was fine. I knew I could handle it. The problem was everyone at the party wanted to try benching 225. Now, you and I, who've been around football players our entire life, 225 is not a great big feat. Even a guy can get, 5 or 6. But when you're talking about normal human beings and women who don't go in, like,
what you're saying is you were doing a lot of upright rows.
Oh yeah, I did a ton of upright rows, and by the end of it, I was like, man, I don't want to drop it on this girl's face. Like, so thankfully, it didn't drop it on anyone's face. I had a blast. Like, this was a great party. They had some live music. The guy who hosted the party, his mom is I guess she's a really well-respected country gospel singer in the United States and performer. She picked up the acoustic guitar. Man, the whole party stopped, and she was awesome. And no one knew this. Like, I didn't know this was coming from this lady. It was such a nice time. But yeah, there's some do's and don'ts in parties. I would say don't drink too much.
I don't know if you just don't what? Sorry.
Don't drink too much.
Don't drink. Get home. In fact, you have to have a plan. I think going into it, I'm just reading here. Awesome comment. I stay away from work Christmas parties after I had a few too many Wobbly Pops and hit on Allison Redford. You see, that's what I'm talking about. So my rule is I go in with a plan and I pace myself early because it always happens. Oh, geez, I haven't seen you forever. Let's go up to the bar and there's a shooter. Then there's somebody else that hasn't seen you for a while in a shooter. And especially as a big guy, you kind of stand out and everybody wants to have a shot with the big guy. So I really pace myself early on and I kind of hide out. Two, you know what? It's not so bad when my wife comes along but there's a time in my life, not so long ago, I think, that, you got to stay away from those people that, those girls, people of the opposite sex, maybe the people of the same sex, that start looking at you with those eyes. Yeah. They deal with you every day at the office, but for whatever reason it is, Christmas feels different and everybody's dressed up different. And sometimes people start feeling those feelings. You got to stay away from that, Chev, or else next thing you know, you're hitting on Allison Redford.
Yeah, you're hitting on Allison Redford or someone else's wife, and you don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. You don't. But it happens every year, right? So my whole thing is,
when I played for the Cowboys, the first thing I ever heard, like I went to the Cowboys, and the first thing I ever heard, it was Emmitt Smith, and I'm not lying. I swear on God, he brought all the rookies in a room. He said, guys, there's parties you bring your hoes to, and your parties you bring your wives to. Don't bring your wives to the whole party and don't bring your host out. I'll never forget that. I think that could apply for some people at a Christmas party. You got to be careful.
Yeah, be careful. Well, that takes me to my next rule, a little more probably PG-13 than Emmitt Smith's rule. But we follow this one with the Stampeders, or at least all the way back to the Riders is when it started. You can bring a significant other, but not unless you've been with her for 6 months.
Yes,
and I'll tell you, nothing's more, because the drama that goes along when you bring in competitive girls into a football locker room. It's the same thing at an office party. If you don't know, guy or girl, what your significant other is going to do when they're the one that doesn't know anybody, they're the one meeting your bosses, your clients, your coworkers, and you've never seen them interact with alcohol and that kind of pressure before, because it is pressure. Right? It is. Christmas office parties are pressure. And if you don't know exactly how they're going to act when they have one too many shots because that girl they just met is so awesome, it's like we're sisters from back in the day, you can't bring them to the party, or else it can quickly become a nightmare.
And remember, Rubio, streaking is never a good idea. No. Listen, we're going to have to take a break. We're going to have to, I would love to keep that going, but we're going to have to take a break here. Guys, we mentioned that we had a great interview with Demetrius Maxey, defensive line coach of the Grey Cup winning Toronto Argonauts in the most recent Grey Cup. We're going to play a little clip here as we exit. That episode's going to come out soon, but D-Max, old teammate of ours, D-line coach, fantastic guy, fantastic interview. You're going to want to see that, but here's a little clip as we go to break. Stay tuned to this, and then we'll be back right after the messages. How do you manage that when you're sitting at the table, deciding on personnel, deciding on scheme? What are those conversations like when you meet those really headstrong guys? Like, how do you manage that? There's no preparation for that, is there?
No, it's not. But you know what? If they ask you your opinion, then you give it to them. If you don't give them your honest opinion and you bounce around the questions and you think you're going to offend somebody when somebody already said, hey, give me your opinion, then shame on you if you don't voice your opinion. You know what I mean? So you always, for me, you always got to adapt and adjust to your environment and the people that you have around you. And a lot of people cannot do that. Yeah. And they don't know how to let go of their egos, like you just stated. So how are you going to be a winner if you don't allow yourself to be open to the other people around you, because you don't know everything? You know what I mean? I'm still asking questions. I like to watch videos. I like to figure out what will work for me and the players that I have. So I'm looking at all types of film in order for us to be great.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
You there?
Yeah. Welcome back.
You bringing it in?
Well, I didn't know I was bringing it in, but I guess I can. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, no.
Demetrius
Okay.
Max, I'll tell you what, I can't wait until yeah, go ahead, take it in.
No, because Trey was asking us to bring it in with the socials. So, yeah. So listen, guys, thanks for listening to that. We're Chevy and Nasty. Please follow us at Chevy and Nasty on all our socials. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff. Plus, you can catch us on YYC Business and Spotify, Apple Podcasts the next day. And we also have a TikTok account we've been updating lately. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. Sheldon, you want to say something about the Max?
Well, yeah, the thing that excited me was for Demetrius, I finally got to confront him on this because I played with him, I think 6 out of my 8 years in the pros. I played with him, 2-3 years with the Riders and 2-3 years with the Stamps. And every year, like he was no doubt the absolute stud. He was the sack leader most years, and which was really impressive. He's an interior lineman and defensive end. But a couple of years I was up on him at one point in the season, only to go into the next week and see my stats dropped and his jumped up. He was a sack stealer, Chevy, and I finally got to confront him on this. And that was probably one of the more gratifying moments of my life, just to be able to confront an old teammate on, come on, Max, you had 70 sacks in your career. Why'd you have to take mine? And it's good to finally get to the bottom of it.
And he talks about it.
And he talks about it. Yep.
He talks about it. You guys kind of come to an agreement on it.
No, we didn't come to an agreement, but he did talk about it. He fessed
up.
Well,
Well, you know what? Speaking of sacks, this is going around the internet, making a lot of rounds today. So we all know that Michael Strahan broke Mark Gastineau's sack record in 2001, and everyone remembers that sack. If you're a football player, Michael Strahan breaks up, he's untouched, and Brett Favre rolls to his right, and Strahan just lies on top of him. Brett Favre just takes a knee. Well, today, I guess in promotion of an ESPN 360 that's coming out in the December, called the Stock Exchange, I think it is, or the Sack Exchange, they show a clip of Mark Gastineau meeting Brett Favre last year for the first time. And it wasn't a glorious meeting like it was between us and Demetrius Maxey. Have a look at this, Sheldon.
Mark Gastineau's record of 22 sacks in a single season, which he achieved in 1984, stood until the final minutes of the 2001 season.
Straight hand gets the sack. And you know what? No one's happier than Brett Favre. He gets the record. Well, he got a gimme is what he got.
There was nobody else that wanted Michael to get that more than Brett, and he showed it right there.
I didn't know what had happened, The NFL should have stopped that and said, listen, no, that's not a sack. He took my record away from me. Anybody will tell you Brett Favre took a dive. And you know it, she knows it, he knows it, and everybody knows it. Excuse me. Finally met. Now you tell me.
We met a long time ago. At least I saw you.
Right.
How you doing?
When you fell down for him. I'm going to get my sack back. I'm going to get my sack back, dude.
You probably would hurt me.
Well, I don't care. You hurt me. You hurt me. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
You really hurt me. You hurt me, Brett.
We got to get back to this, Brett. I'm sorry.
For him to do that to Brett Favre, that was my last straw. My last straw.
Wow.
What'd you think of that?
You hurt me, Brett. Well, there's no doubt. You heard the comment. He rolled over for him. Yeah, he did. That was not a roll-up protection. Brett went out there and absolutely gave Strahan the sack.
Yeah.
But if you look at sports, and maybe it's not fair to compare it, but if you look at the NHL with empty net goals at the end of the game, sometimes the puck changes hands 2-3 times just to get the guy who they think deserves the goal. But in the NHL, you're going to score hundreds of goals in your career. 22 sacks in a season in the NFL is unbelievable.
Yeah, but you know what? You mentioned something, but no one on the other team is going to let you score an empty net goal. You saw last year in the playoffs, you saw Matthew Tkachuk, the effort he did to prevent an empty net goal, only to have it scored on about 2 seconds later by Connor McDavid. But you got to think, like, Mark Gastineau played in there, and I read some comments from Brett Favre. He's genuinely apologetic. He didn't realize it. He's seeing it from Mark's perspective now, and he's like, yeah, Mark played in an era where you didn't make generational wealth. Like, all you got was your name on a record book if you got a record, and all you got was your name on a plaque if you won the Super Bowl. You didn't get much more than that. Yeah. And so, we just talked about, how important the sack is to defensive linemen, to the point where guys will call the league to make sure that they get credited, because when you're playing, it's part of your contract, it's part of your bonuses. It's literally the makeup of what you do. And so this is pretty interesting. And Trey corrected me. It's the New York Sack Exchange for the 30 for 30 that's coming out. But I thought this was super interesting. And you could tell that was an awkward exchange.
Oh, awkward. Well, Brett was not expecting that at all.
No, and there was no handshake. There was no handshake either.
No, there was not. And he handled it about as well as he could. No, because I feel like he would hurt me. And I think he would. You forget about that sometimes. And that's a great point, that in the 80s, it was not, you were not playing for wealth. You were definitely not life-changing generational wealth. I mean, the Stars did well. Mark did fine, but there was no Good Morning America followed by broadcast deals and movie deals. It's not like it is now. And yeah, I guess it would be a slap in the face to see something you work so hard for just handed to a guy like it's a door prize.
Yeah,
and in all fairness, it was a door prize.
It was. Even the commentator said it. You cut the tail end when he's like, "Oh, he got the sack," and I think the color guy, I don't know if it's Troy Aikman. It probably wasn't Troy Aikman. But he said he got a gimme.
Do you know what Demetrius Maxey would have done? He would have called the league and said he was moving forward with no throwing motion. That was a quarterback sweep. It was a run. That was a tackle for loss.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Well,
the only argument I can see.
So I see Gastineau having a point, but yeah, it sure came across as awkward. I'm looking forward to that. There's a lot of stuff I'm looking forward to coming out. I think there's a Netflix series coming out on Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not a big Aaron Rodgers fan, and we've kind of gone hard and heavy on him this year with the New York Jets and them not making the playoffs. His career may be done, but he's an interesting cat, and they're doing a Netflix special. I'm definitely going to watch that. That for me is must watch, just to, I guess, to peel back that onion a bit and say, okay, well, I don't understand this guy. It seems like I don't like him because I only get his public face, but this seems to be more of a little look behind. Obviously, like you said, with the wrestling and all the other things, it's a narrative. It's someone's narrative, but it'll just be cool to see that. But this one, gosh, I didn't expect that, because Gastineau was in the crowd for that sack too. And obviously, in hindsight, it probably didn't sit well with him. He was probably being a good sport to stand there for the record being broken, but I'm sure he would have wanted it broken.
Legitimately, because nobody's broken that record since. I mean, that's one of those records that could stand for decades to come.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, let's move on, Sheldon. It's the second segment, and you know what always happens around this segment? We always queue up the Chevy and Nasty Blitz.
Time for the Chevy and Nasty Blitz.
All right, so I'm going to start this off. Sheldon. Last week, we the breaking news last week was Mark Killam, a friend of ours, named as the head coach of the Edmonton Elks. You said it. He has a big job. A rookie coach has to turn a culture around 180 degrees. And one of the topics that came out of that show that we had a lot of question marks is what was he going to do at quarterback? He had a proven guy in McLeod Bethel Thompson. He has a young guy in Trey Ford, Canadian quarterback. They don't always get the respect they deserve. He had an up and down career so far in Edmonton, but our question was answered this week when the Elks GM and president of football operations, Ed Hervey, signs Trey Ford to a 3-year contract extension, all but guaranteeing him he did guarantee him the starting spot, saying the slate is clear. Sheldon, in your opinion, is this the right move for the most important position at your organization to take them to that direction, like you mentioned, turning 180 degrees of the culture and starting to win? Is this the right move?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a risky move. It's a bold move. You're taking a quarterback the jury's still out on whether it's a legitimate way to run a franchise around, to run an offense around in the CFL. But I look back at what Trey Ford has done, and he's always had the uphill battle. He's put in for a few games and he's pulled out. But you know what he always does? He always finds a way to win. It's unorthodox, but he's very tough to plan against. So from that standpoint, yeah, you give the guy a shot. He wants to be there. McLeod Bethel Thompson, I don't even know his status. I've heard rumblings that he's not back next year. I don't even know if he's under contract or planning to come back. Trey Ford wants to be there, and I think he's at least earned the right to start. But second of all, changing the culture, part of this is going to be, Chev, getting the fans back engaged again. And when you see Edmonton, that when we played, 50,000 people would show up. Today, 8,000 people show up. They weren't happy about the change of the name of the team, and they weren't happy to see a Canadian boy relegated to the bench when they all agreed that at least he's an exciting guy to watch. I'm excited for it. Mark Killam wants to change the culture. He did it. He wants to put a stamp on the team. He did it. Let's give Trey Ford a chance to play.
Yeah, I'm excited for a Canadian quarterback, but at the same time, I'm very hesitant. Like, Mark Killam's my guy, and he's the head coach of one of the most important franchises in the CFL, and he's hanging a lot of how he's gonna be judged. His reputation, his coaching prowess is gonna be judged on this move. And you mentioned it; it's a risky move. I want him to succeed. I want to see a Canadian do really well, like Nathan Rourke. But typically Canadians don't get the fair shake. Hopefully he's going to get it now. But I also feel his body of work is not there yet. He started 18 games, 9-9 for 18 games. He was injured in both seasons where he had regular starts. If he can't stay healthy, this is a risky move. And that's the same for any quarterback, but I just feel like the body of work's not there. I feel like he didn't have an opportunity to learn from a good veteran presence because there was so much toxicity in Edmonton in the last couple of years. And we heard that from Coach Maxey in that interview that's going to come out. And so I don't know if he had the situation that prepares him for success, but now he's being thrust into a spot where he's going to have to figure it out in a hurry, him and a rookie head coach. And I'm not saying I want
an unnamed offensive coordinator. Right?
Yeah, well, it's gonna be McMissick that they brought over from.
McMissick, that's right. I forgot that. Yeah, that's right.
Vernon McMissick brought him over from BC. He had tons of success with Vernon Adams Jr. He had tons of success with Nathan Rourke. Can he repeat for a third time with Trey Ford? We're gonna see. You said it's a big risk. I'm not saying it's a catastrophe, but when I look at the numbers, McLeod Bethel Thompson had some pretty awesome numbers last year. He was top 4 in the league. I know the team was in disarray, But if it was in disarray for Trey Ford's situation, it was also in disarray for McLeod Bethel Thompson. And we're giving up, if we're Elks, giving up on McLeod. This is a quarterback that brought the Toronto Argonauts to the Grey Cup 2 years ago. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. Let's move on.
Maybe MBT gave up on the Elks, but
maybe.
To the NFL, Kansas City Chiefs, they pointed it out this week that they have won 15 consecutive one score games in a row. Was it one score? Yeah, one score games, right? It wasn't 1 point. I got 1 point in front of me.
Yeah,
15 consecutive one score games. Is that just like good coaching, right? Do you put on the coaching staff? Do you put it on the quarterback? Or is this like a scripted thing? How do you win 15 one-score games in a row? That's like 15 flips of a coin in a row.
Well, I tell you, the Chiefs are in a situation where they're in the driver's seat. If they're down or up by one score at the end of the game, they know how to speed it up or slow it down accordingly. And they did that on Sunday night. I watched them just surgically tear apart the Chargers with dink and dunk plays. Patrick Mahomes jumping backwards, feet split, completes, I believe it was a 25-yard pass. And then at the end, he rolls to his right. Defender ready to kill him. One of the best defenders on the Chargers. And he just sidesteps him and just completes a pass to Travis Kelce to ice it. They've been there. They've done that. Statistically, they should lose 1 or 2 or 3 of these games. In fact, if they lost all those games this year, they would have been 2-11 instead of the record that they have. And they're that good. They're that good. They have that many weapons. They have that much skill and execution. And yeah, they probably have some black magic voodoo luck. And of course, you'll have everyone that hates the Chiefs saying that it's all according to script. Well, if it's according to script, they're on their way not only to clinching the division like they did the other day with a game-winning kick that doinked off the goalpost, like you mentioned, but they're also on their way to their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. And that hasn't been done, but I see this team as being able to do it because they win by what they need to win. And people think, oh, yes, if obviously the Bills beat them, maybe the Steelers have a chance. Those are the 2 teams that I could see knocking them off, but you're going to have to bring everything to do it. And I just think they can match any team toe to toe and just bring it to that final minute where you feel your life bleeding out of you as you're watching the clock. You watched Harbaugh's face on Sunday night as the clock was winding down and his players were missing tackles and Patrick Mahomes is jumping backwards, completing pass, and Harbaugh was just beside himself. Yeah. He just didn't know what to do. So they're going to keep doing it. I don't even remember what your question was, but they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah. They're built. I mean, they've survived Kelsey's aging and they've survived injuries, running back and receiver, defense, but they're just built for the one-score game. So Now let's go on to Belichick.
Oh,
so Belichick is unceremoniously removed from the New England Patriots. He's entertaining some offers, but he wants everything to be his way for other NFL jobs. But now, University of North Carolina Tar Heels approaches him, and he accepts the job as an NCAA college coach. Chev, can this guy, obviously he's won a lot of games and championships in the NFL. Will this translate back to college?
Yeah, I don't know if he can replicate the Patriot way at the college level. I don't know. And I was reading a few articles, listening to a few podcasts, some of his former players, not named guys, but guys who've played on their system say there's no way this guy can show up in a 17-year-old's home and convince him to go there because it's better for his development, not just as a football player, but as a human being. I don't know. But the NCAA has changed with the NIL money, the transfer portals. Things are different. And maybe Bill Belichick is the guy that could be needed in this current climate, but he's definitely not a Nick Saban. He's not a guy that's going to inspire the troops. I just, you know what I think, you know what the problem I think is on this one. So for us, legendary coach, right? Legendary winner. For those guys that have been playing football in high school, they're looking at that battle of, was it Brady or Belichick? Well, it was decided, and they decided that it was Tom Brady was the star there. So I don't know how much star power he's going to have with the kids. Yeah.
Right? If he's competing against Prime and some of these other amazing Sabans and these amazing programs that are out there, will that name have the draw to get guys to come? I'll tell you what, he better find a promoter and an ambassador for that program. USC's got a ton of history. They used to be a perennial top 10, top 20 team.
But you look at every good college coach. You mentioned Coach Prime, Saban, Urban Meyer, Lane Kiffin, all these guys. At least they got charisma.
Yeah.
I've seen in the last year, we mentioned in one of our shows that I've seen this year since Bill Belichick got removed the Patriots and then he did the Tom Brady roast. He's really come out of his shell. He's got a Twitter account, a Facebook account. He appears on all the shows. He laughs around. Stuff we haven't seen in the last 20 years.
Ever.
But not enough. I mean, he's got a 24-year-old girlfriend too, which, if he does go to that campus, she's going to have to worry because there's a lot of 24-year-old girls around campus if he's out there. So they're going to have a serious talk about their relationship if he's out on campus all day long. But I don't know. I don't think you can replicate that. We've seen so many times NFL coaches go to colleges, not necessarily work. They wind up back in the NFL a couple of years later. And same thing with college coaches going to the NFL. Look at Harbaugh. He had a good run in Michigan. He had a good run, but back in the NFL. And maybe this is just a very temporary stop for Bill until someone else makes a change. Maybe he'll be the Cowboys head coach in a few years if Jerry Jones lets him.
You know what he did
run.
though? One last quick point is he took guys that everybody else underestimated and he made them great. And I don't know if it's his systems or his expectation levels for the guys or his communication in the locker room, because I've never been in his locker room, but there's something about that guy that was able to win. So it's going to be an interesting story.
You know what that was about that guy? It was Tom Brady. Okay, we're gonna move on. Listen, we're gonna move to hockey. So the NHL is having this Four Nations face-off. It's coming up in February. Last week they announced the rosters, and when you're in Canada, some of our American friends like AC and Rubio listening, and they don't realize how hockey nuts we are up here. But just the rosters being released sparks a flurry of debate and talk. Who got left off? Who should be there? And Canadians and everyone involved in this tournament are excited, and rightfully so. You're Americans, you got Austin Matthews, you got Canadians, you got Connor McDavid, and so on and so forth. But I'm looking at this, and it's called the Four Nations Face-Off. It's an NHL tournament. Now, one of the biggest presence of international players in the NHL is Russians, and they're nowhere to be found. Now, from what I understand, because of the war in the Ukraine, Russia's been excluded. And I understand there's a lot of political overtones, especially at the Olympic level. But Sheldon, do you think an NHL tournament should leave out players on a best-on-best tournament, best-on-best situation in preparations for the Olympics, should leave out players that represent a large chunk of their players on NHL rosters? What do you think?
You know what? As a Ukrainian Canadian, dude, I'm fine with it. You see it in the Olympics. You see it on the Olympics. I get the draw of seeing the best on best, but honestly, I even feel seeing some of the Russian guys in the league. I'm fine. You're up here. You've got the visa play. You guys are amazing players, but I think that there is a certain consequence of your international follies on the big stage. Like right now, Russia's busy putting North Korean soldiers into the Ukraine to fight. So that they can protect Russian lives and send Russians to play in tournaments. I think right now this is a little bit bigger than the game. And I know a lot of people won't agree with that. Are we missing out on something by not having the Russians there? Yeah, maybe. But Finland and Sweden, come on, man. Like those are pretty amazing programs too.
Yeah, so this is my take on it. And like I get it at the Olympic level, at the IOC level, at the international level, where there's the international. I don't even believe this is an international.
Canada was built on Ukrainians, dude. Like there's far higher population of Ukrainians here than there are Russians in Canada.
Yeah, but it's the principle. So the NHL had all the pride stuff last year, and players said we're not going to play. We're not going to put on a pride jersey, and the NHL, there was a lot of backlash.
Way different.
Start trying to force players, but hold on. The NHL said we are going to step away from social issues. We're going to focus on the hockey. Well, this is the NHL kind of putting their idea that now we're going to step into a social issue, and we're going to prevent a whole bunch of players that may want to play in this tournament because they're associated with the country that committed war. And I get it. Like, I could see it at a certain extent, but I also think that it's a bit hypocritical of the NHL to exclude Russian players from a best on best tournament. I just think
I'll tell you what, if we've seen anything in this world the last few years, is hypocrisy reigns supreme. But for myself, I don't want to see the Russians playing right now. There's just too much going on in the world, and I'm glad that hockey's being a little bit bigger than that. Although
the Russians,
I get it.
One question, and maybe Trey knows the answers. Are Russians going to be playing in the World Junior Tournament that happens on Boxing Day? That's the big one. So no Russians in the World Junior Tournament either. Okay, see, that one I get. Now, and you know my position on the World Junior Tournament. Whatever. Canada beats up on a whole bunch of crap countries, and then they play the Sweden or Finland, USA or Russia, but not Russia this year. But yeah. I get it.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break here, guys, go to commercials. But when we come back, Chevy and Nasty, we're going to bring our studs and duds. So stay tuned.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Welcome back. We're The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. This is the last segment of the night. We're brought to you each week by Performance Freight Management, We Drone, Real Estate Media, YYC Business, where you can find us on all the socials. We flash it all the time. Please like, subscribe, tell a friend, download the podcast. I think we hit our 100 downloads on the podcast this week. Guys, just for your information, next week, the 17th, is going to be our last live ride with Chevy and Nasty for the year. We'll be back in the new year. I believe we're going to be back on January 7th. I think we might do a little bit of a call-in show. So if you're listening tonight and you want to get on this ride, make sure you got some headphones, make sure you got decent mic. We can send you out the link. We'll get you on for a couple of minutes. Maybe we'll chat with you if you're one of our regulars and you want to show up on the ride. But we'll figure all that next week. Right now, we got to get to the segment that we always hit, and it is the studs and duds. Let's go, Trey.
Studs and duds.
All right.
Well, I'll start it off. This sort of a feel good, feel bad story. This week in New York, have you been following the case of Daniel Penny in the States? Over a year ago, he's an American Marine veteran that was on a subway train in the States, and apparently New York's gotten really bad. Well, one day he's on the train, and a guy going through a schizophrenic episode, high on the drug K2, homeless guy, huge problems in his life, gets on the train and starts threatening passengers. Someone's going to die here today. I'm not afraid to go to prison. Starts slamming his jacket and starts getting aggressive with people. Well, Daniel Penny sat back until a mother was confronted by him, who used a stroller to try to distance her baby from himself. And at that point, Daniel Penny steps in and says, I'm the only guy here that can do it. Puts him in a chokehold, takes him down to the ground. The guy starts fighting him. So two more guys jump in and grab his arms. They wrestle for about 5 minutes when next off, the police come in and take over. The guy died. Right. So he went in, did the interview, waived his Miranda rights, told him exactly what happened, no charges. But the city went into protest for 10 days. Homeless guy, minority, some big dude, white guy that's trained to kill the guy. And the district attorney pressed charges. So for the last year and a half, this guy has been in and out of courts, finally culminating in the actual trial over the last month. And you know what? Last week, they almost, like, by the end of the week, they said, we cannot reach a verdict. The judge says, okay, we'll drop the main charge of manslaughter of second degree, which would get him 15 years in prison. 15 years. They dropped that charge. The jury came back Monday and they chose to acquit him, saying, listen, any guy in that situation, we hope guys like him would step in. Unfortunate a young man died. Very unfortunate. But that's a whole different set of problems of what's happening with our homeless people. Chev, you're a big guy. Do you sympathize at all with Daniel Penny and watching what's going on a train? Do you ever feel the pressure to step in? Would you feel the pressure to step in and do something to keep everybody else safe?
Yeah, I definitely would. I mean, again, in this situation, very unfortunate, very catastrophic ending. I've seen situations like that. It doesn't always end well. I would step in. We talked about this last week about stepping in when we talked about Biz Nasty and, getting in that fight with those 6 guys. What if Biz Nasty threw a punch while 6 guys were swinging at him and he knocked the wrong guy and one of the guys dies? But in the situation, you step in. You don't want to see it end like this. Very tough situation. But
I'm just glad, in my opinion, I know it's tough. Not everybody's going to agree, but I think the jury of his peers, which was mixed race, mixed gender, mixed ages, at the end of the day, I think they came to the right call. So really, it's not Daniel that was my stud. It was the jury of his peers that said, we need people like this in society, even if it's ugly sometimes.
That's a heavy one. I'm going to go a little lighter. I'm going to go a little lighter on this with my stud. I'm going to say, Trey, roll the clip. This is my stud of the week, Tom Wilson. So here's Tom Wilson. He just took a puck off the face. Number 43 for the Washington Capitals. You see it right here. Took a puck off the face. And I think that puck equaled a shot on net for him. So he's got this huge welt on his face, comes back later in the game, scores the tying goal. And then, you see his face right there. It's blown up. Like that's like he got his wisdom teeth removed from the outside. And here he comes at the end, scores the winning goal. Okay. In an interview after the game, he said, my dad always told me if I can play, I play. Look at that face. Right there is a face for radio. I picked Tom Wilson as my stud. And I have this guy in high regard because this guy did the damage against my Montreal Canadiens. Took a puck off the face, ties the game, and then scores the go-ahead game goal against my team. For all intents and purposes, he shouldn't be a stud, but Tom Wilson, this week, you're my stud. That takes some courage. I took a puck off the head when I was a kid. We talked about it in an episode. I was a kid at a Montreal Canadiens game, watching the game, pregame warm-up. Claude Lemieux hits me off the forehead. I had that on my forehead, but I didn't have to play the game. I didn't have to score the goal. I just had to watch. This guy came back on the bench, had a nice back. That's tough stuff.
Hockey players are so tough. I mean, I don't know many football players that have gotten stitches in return, but
no. And then I'll move on to my dud. My dud is quick. It's easy. Donald Trump, you're my dud this week. Listen, we joke. First of all, you guys know my feelings towards Trudeau. I'm not a Trudeau fan. Okay. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. But Donald Trump, and behind closed doors, when Donald Trump told Trudeau, if you don't pay what you're supposed to, you might as well become a 51st state. You might as well become a governor of the state. That's fine behind closed doors, talking to the guy, kind of strong. But in public, there's a way you address people. And what he wrote here in public on his Truth Social. It was a pleasure to have dinner the other night with Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. I look forward to seeing the governor again. That's not a joke. Like, I know people who love Trump say that we love him because of his policies, even though he says stupid stuff sometimes. But sometimes there's things that he says that we dismiss as comedy. To me, this is not comedy. If I'm Canadian, I'm offended by this. Like any Canadian that says, yeah, he's right. Like, I don't care who it is he's addressing. Like I really don't like Justin Trudeau, but the respect you show our prime minister and our country should be respectful. You should address us properly. If he wants to say the idiot prime minister of Canada, go ahead, but address him the way he is and address our country for what we are. We're a country. We're not a state. There was a poll today that said 13% of Canadians would like to be a U.S. You know what? Go to the States. But 13%. This is our country, and I think it's super disrespectful. And for me, again, that's my dud.
Yeah, no, I actually I
again.
agree. Very disrespectful. But I think what this is the message isn't to Canada and to Trudeau. This is a message to everyone else of the allies. Guys, step in line, pay your dues. And I think he's trying to keep a little bit of that crazy reputation with Putin and Xi and Iran, because you know what happens? 4 years go by and you think, I guess he was all bark. Now, I think he's coming over the top right now, trying to show that he's still the alpha dog. And yeah, Chev, very disrespectful.
Let's hit your dud, because then
that's my dud. So that goes back to again with Trudeau and what's going on in Montreal. This whole culture that we've brought on for the last 10 years. So there's this Montreal music festival going on in a little neighborhood, Chac Le Cabane. And for those of you guys that don't speak French, it means shake the cabin. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure shake the cabin.
Probably.
They got in trouble for their staggered pricing that they were advertising on the website. Regular tickets, $25.83. Kids were like $16. But if you're Black, if you're Indigenous, or a person of color, it's only $15. Now, I get how progressive Canada has become. And I also totally agree that we need to integrate all of our different ethnic groups to build the great country that is Canada. But I've got some advice for the people that were planning this party. If you want to get more people from other cultures coming to your party, throw a party that they want to come to, and do the hard work, engage with the community associations. Better yet, make some of these your personal friends, because I'll tell you one thing, if you don't have people of other colors and races and ethnic groups coming to your party, it's because you don't know them and they don't trust you and they don't like you. At very least, if they're not going to come to your party, don't accuse them of being too poor to come and cheapening their tickets, because that's just a bad look. And the last time I checked, charging different race by the color of your skin is racism in itself. And that can very easily change based on which cultures are the theme of the day. I get what you're trying to do. I just don't like it.
Yeah. And you know what, Sheldon, I looked into it a little bit. This is a nonprofit organization, I believe. And for them to charge different pricing based on color of people's skin, it's actually against the charter rights. It's illegal. Just stupid, just dumb. And yeah, you're right. It's reverse racism. So that's the studs and duds of the week. I like that one. I like that one that you brought that one to light, because I didn't know about
shovel and reach out to the communities.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Volunteer in the communities, build trust, and invite them to a party. Then,
well, Sheldon, we got
cheap tickets. Yes, go.
Yeah, I was gonna say we only got a couple of minutes here. This week we saw Joe Burrow. Not only did they win on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys with that great possession at the end when the Cowboys block a kick, but their returner touches the block kick. Bengals get the ball back with a couple minutes left, go down, score a touchdown, win the game. Cowboys are beside themselves. But Joe Burrow, when he gets home to his nice Batmobile. Apparently, Joe Burrow bought one of the 10 Batmobile tumblers that Warner Brothers made available. It's a working, non-street legal, but working model of the Batmobile. I believe he paid $3 million for this, Sheldon. I know that Doug Flutie owns two Batmobiles. He owns one from the old Adam West TV show and one from the Michael Keaton Batman series. But this is the tumbler. That was one of the coolest Batmobiles. Sheldon, would you like to own a Batmobile?
Oh yeah, and the tumbler would be the one, because it just looks so badass parked in your driveway.
Yeah.
But my go-to, if we're talking fictional vehicle of any kind, it's got to be Airwolf, the series from the 80s, Stringbill Hawk. For me, it's Airwolf. What about you, Chev?
Well, for me, I definitely liked the Batmobile would be one of them. But looking up on screen now, you know what? I kind of like the DeLorean. I'd love to go back in time, like Marty McFly, and especially the flying DeLorean and Back to the Future 2. That was my favorite one. When the wheels went under and it was like, there are no roads where we're going. I was like, man, Doc, you got me. I want to jump in that at the end of Back to the Future 1, when they jumped in that one and the wheels flipped under. I was all in for that DeLorean. Listen, guys, I think that's it for the show today. Again, thanks to all of you for joining us. Remember, please take a look at our socials. We post a lot of clips. We're going to give you some information on the Demetrius Maxey episode, when we're going to release it. Maybe it's next week. Maybe it's during the holidays when we're off. But we sure appreciate you guys being here every week on the ride with us. We sure appreciate the comments and the feedback. Nasty, last word goes to you. Close it up.
Guys, just want to thank all of you guys for joining us. We're going to do one more show next week before taking a 2-week break for the holidays. Guys, we couldn't do it without you guys. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks, Trey.